Chapter 3, Concept 1 is all about simplifying fractions. And I know you guys are going to be rock stars at this lesson because 7th graders are always awesome at fractions. So I'm really excited for us to get going on our new chapter. First thing I want to talk about is some vocabulary. What do you call the top part, the top number of a fraction? Well, let's write it on this line. It is referred to as the numerator. Make sure you spell it correctly. And what's the bottom called? That's called the denominator. And guys and girls, you need to be familiar with those two words because I won't say what's the top number or what's the bottom. I would say what is the numerator? What number is the denominator? You need to be familiar and know those vocabulary words. Now, the cool thing about fractions is that every fraction has a family, essentially, or like a secret identity. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. 5, 6 is what we're going to start with number 1. It says, use multiples to write 2 equivalent fractions to each fraction. So, 5, 6 is 5, 6, okay? But there are other ways you can write it. And you can think of it like, you're not going to do this on every problem, but let's do it right here. Let me just kind of draw a line. Just do it for this problem. I'm going to make a little table. All right. Pretty little, like I said. Boom, 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 and boom. And then you can just kind of color this top left box in like that. Okay. So you've got 5, 6. Put the 5 right here and the 6 here. That's really the fraction 5 over 6. In this box, we're going to multiply each of them by 2. So 5 times 2 would give you 10. 6 times 2 would give you 12. So 5, 6 is the same thing as 10 over 12. That's one equivalent fraction. Now let's take them both times 3. 5 times 3 is 15. And 6 times 3 would be 18. So 15 over 18 is also a fraction that is equivalent to 5 over 6. So these are like its siblings, or like its alter ego, or whatever you want to call it. Now, you can use any other numbers besides 2 and 3. You could use 100, you could use 52, 10. My advice is to keep the numbers smaller though, because if you use crazy numbers like 58, you could mess up your multiplication and miss the problem just because you were being silly. So I would try to keep the numbers as small as possible just to make my life a little easier. Just me. So 3/8. I'm not going to make this chart, but I'm going to use the same concept. Take both of them times 2. 3 times 2 would give me 6. 8 times 2 would give me 16. So 6/16 is the same thing as 3/8. Well, let's take them both times 3. 3 times 3 would be 9, over 8 times 3 would be 24. So those two fractions are equivalent to 3/8. Let's do one more together and let's change the numbers up a little bit. Instead of 2 and 3, let's do 4 and 5. Take both of these times 4. 2 times 4 is 8, and 9 times 4 would be 36. So 2/9 is the same as 8/36. Take them both times 5. 2 times 5 is 10. 9 times 5 is 45. So 10 over 45 is the same thing as 2/9. Now, guys and girls, I want you to do the next 2 on your own. Remember, you can multiply it times anything, but I would keep them small like 2 and 3, so then your answers match mine. Pause the video. Okay, here are my answers for 4 and 5. Remember, there is an endless amount of answers that you really could have, but try to keep them small. It'll make it easier. I've got 14 over 20 and 21 over 30. And then for number 5, I have 8 over 14 and 12 over 21. If you did something different, circle it so we can talk about it in class the next day, just so I can check to make sure you know what you're doing. Now, something that is extremely important to fractions, and that is simplifying them. Guys and girls, I'm sure you remember, I hope you remember, when you add and subtract or multiply and divide fractions, our goal is to get it in the simplest form possible. You don't even need to ask me, do I need to simplify this? The answer is always yes, so don't even worry about asking, just do it. What it means to simplify is to divide the numerator and denominator of a fraction by any number they have in common. So let's start off with number 1. You have 24 and 30. Well, what is a number we could divide both of them by? We could do 2. So think about, what's 24 divided by 2? Well, that would be 12. What is 30 divided by 2? That would be 15. Now, just because you've done that doesn't mean you're done. What goes into 12 and 15? 3. Oh. What's 12 divided by 3? 4. What's 15 divided by 3? 5. Again, check to make sure. What goes into 4 and 5? Nothing will go into both of them. So the simplest form of 24 over 30 is 4/5. And guys and girls, in a few weeks, in a few days, when we start adding and subtracting fractions, if you don't put your answer in simplest form every time, I'm going to have to take some points off of your paper. So be careful, okay? 18 and 30, what goes into both? 6 goes into both. 18 divided by 6 would be 3, and 30 divided by 6 would be 5. What goes into 3 and 5? Nothing. So that one's done. Now, some of you might have said, oh, I didn't see 6, but I thought about 2. Well, you could have done 2 first. Then you would have had to divide by 3. So if you can find the biggest number that divides both of them at the beginning, that's your best bet. It'll mean less work. Number 3, what goes into 12 and 24? Well, I know 2 does. I know 6 does. Wait, 12 goes into both of them. What's 12 divided by 12? 1. What's 24 divided by 12? 2. What goes into 1 and 2? Nothing. So that's why I say the biggest number is the best, because if I would have divided by 2, I would have had to divide by 2 again, and then 3 to get the equivalent of dividing by 12 one time. Try the next 2 on your own. Pause the video. For number 4, I got 2/3, and for number 5, I got 1/3. I divided both of these by 4, and at first I divided both of these by 4 and got this answer, and then I divided these by 4 and came up with 1/3. So if you have questions, please write down any questions on the back or right here to the side so we can talk about it tomorrow. Now, converting between mixed numbers and improper fractions. Guys and girls, let's start off with a mixed number to an improper fraction. Hopefully this concept is familiar. There's kind of just like a little rule that you're going to follow. Here's what it looks like. You've got your big 2. You don't need to write this. You can do it within the problem. And here's what you do. You take the denominator times the whole number. 8 times 2 is 16. And then add the numerator. 16 plus 3 is 19. And then keep the denominator of 8. So that's just 19 over 8. There's not really any work you got to show me when you do this. You just, here's the problem. What's 4 times 5? 20. 20 plus 3 would be 23 over 4. Okay, let's do number 3 together. Multiply 12 times 1 and get 12, plus 1 is 13 over 12. Okay, you pause the video and do number 4. You should have come up with 17 over 5. Okay, we're ready for the last section for today. That is the opposite of what we just did. taking an improper fraction and making it a mixed number? Well, what's going to help you guys out the most is remembering that a fraction, like an improper fraction, is just a division problem. So here's what you need to do. Do division. Take the top number in the box and the bottom out. How many 3s would go into 16? The answer would be 5. Do your subtraction, and when you're done with the actual division, here is where your work goes. This number, that's the whole number. So you might want to make a note. Whole number. This number is now your numerator. And then your denominator stays the same. So you might want to draw some arrows like that. Now I know it's a little messy, but that's how it all works. And we won't have to draw all those arrows on the rest of these. Here we go. Let's try 2. Division, top number in, bottom number out. And if you want, you can go ahead and put the 3 as your denominator right now. How many 3s go into 25? 8. 8 times 3 means we need to subtract 24. 25 minus 24 is 1. This goes right up here. This is your whole number. So the answer is 8 1/3. All right, let's go to number 3. Top in, bottom out. How many 4s go into 4? That would be 1. So subtract 0. How many 4s go into 2? The answer is none. So now look, we need to do the subtraction, remainder of 2. So I get whole number is 10, numerator is 2, denominator stays 4. But what do you see about 2 and 4? The answer is they can both be divided by 2. So keep the 10, divide by 2 and you get 1. Divide by 2 and you get 2. So the answer to this problem is really 10.5 because we should always reduce our fractions. Okay, you don't have to pause the video. I'm going to do number 4 with you, but you're going to try it on your own. So check up here when you're ready. Okay, I have the answer on my paper. If you don't want me to say it, pause the video right now. The answer is 2 7/12. Okay, now you need to go to the back of this paper to complete these problems on your own. Okay, and make sure on number 5 you show all work below. That's it for tonight. Good luck.